Hey friends, it's Val here, and I wanted to talk to you today about something that has been on my mind and in my heart for a while now, and it's all around fear. How do we notice our fear, honor our fear, work with our fear, and do the thing that we know we need to do when a part of us is screaming, "No, don't do it." How do we do what we know we need to do to be who we are, to show up in the ways that we're called to show up in this world powerfully, even when we feel fear? So I want to dive into this today. All right, here we go. So, first, I want to just share a little experience that I had recently that got me really thinking about this. And I hope that it will help you look a little bit deeper into what's happening for you when you feel afraid of stepping into who you are. So, recently, I was interviewed with an amazing, dear, dear friend who's doing this show. And she asked me, have I ever had a struggle with my confidence, with feeling afraid, afraid to show up, afraid to do something like in that way where I got stopped by it. And God, I really wanted to tell this great story about how I overcame my fear and la la la, because they're great moments, but I really didn't have a story about it. And I got reflecting and I'm like, as far back as I can remember, I have noticed that I might feel afraid about something, but turn toward this much larger part of me that felt called to take a step into the world in some way, some bold action, some bold choice, something that I know I needed to do. It was like part of me was like wanting to withdraw from or whatever, like that part of me that felt afraid, but a much larger part of me felt pulled into the world, into that thing, small or large, whatever it was in my life. And I would always lean to the part that pulled me in rather than the part that tried to pull me back. And as far as I can remember, that's been a part of me. So it really got me reflecting on, what is it that's allowed me to feel the confidence to walk with my fear, to work with my fear, to do what I know I needed to do, even when it felt so scary or hard. So it's been on my mind. So I figured, God, right now, I think that fear is at an all-time high. There's so much fear, there's so much suffering, there's so much uncertainty in our world right now. And we're feeling it collectively, and we're also feeling it individually. At the same time, there's this great invitation. And I know that if you're listening to this, that you feel this. There's an invitation for you to recognize how you're showing up and how you're serving in this time. The world needs all of us right now to recognize the gifts that we have inside of us and not to shy away, not to give in to our fear. And so I felt like this topic would be really, really important for us to look at together. All right. So I want to share a few ways that we can look at fear, maybe even reframe our relationship to fear, and do the thing we know we need to do and feel that sense of confidence, that sense of self within us that drives us deeper into the world. All right. So let's dive in. So first and foremost, what I want to start with is that fear is not the enemy. Okay. Fear is not something for us to run away from. Fear is actually something that serves us. We have an ally in fear. Fear is simply asking for our attention. So sometimes fear comes up in a really supportive way, like watch out for that cord or watch out for the edge of the cliff, Fear serves us, okay? It keeps us safe in those ways, in those very practical ways, to pay attention in that way. Sometimes we feel fear from a part of us that may in some way feel wounded and is trying to protect us from getting hurt. Okay. So maybe I'm afraid to speak up and put my voice out there because when I was younger, I got judged really harshly. Or if I spoke up in my family, I got put down and told that, what do I have to share? And so my strategy was to just get quiet because getting quiet felt safe. Maybe some of you can relate to that. Right. So now as an adult, when I want to speak up and I want to say something and I want to stand for myself or stand for our world or speak up against the status quo or something like that, I'm like, because it doesn't feel safe. Right. So there's that part of me that's afraid to speak up or afraid to be seen or get visible because what are they going to think of me? Right. Who am I to speak up? Like my voice doesn't matter. I'm not good enough to speak or something like that. For an example, think about how it might show up in your own life in ways that it stops you from doing something that you know you need to do in this world. All right. So first and foremost, when fear shows up, it wants your attention. You can't ignore fear. It won't go away. It'll keep coming up in all kinds of ways and sabotaging you from doing and being who you need to be in the world. So stop running and start turning toward the part of you that feels afraid. Number one, turn toward fear. Okay, fear is your friend. Fear is an invitation to know yourself more deeply and to understand this part of you that feels afraid. All right. So, first of all, when you feel fear, you're immediately invited to notice the part of you that feels scared, because it's only a part of you. Who you are is so much more than your fear. And I guarantee you that there's another part of you that's like, do it, get out there. You know, your voice matters. You know, who you are is unique and you have something to offer the world. No, you don't. Oh my God, don't worry. No, like, right. There's like this internal struggle going on inside of you between the part of you that's trying to protect you and serve you by pulling you back, and the part of you that's like, I know I need to do this thing. All right. So when you turn toward the fear part of you and you turn toward with love and curiosity and, self-compassion, you can be with this part of you that feels afraid. What would it be like to turn toward the part of you that's saying, no, it's not okay, it's not safe, and say, what is it that you're protecting? What is this part of me trying to, how is this part of me trying to keep me safe? And what does this part of me really need? Right? And get to know this part that feels afraid. And very much like a parent to a child, if there was a child who was afraid, you wouldn't like run away or tell the child they're wrong, or you would want to hold the child's hand or even embrace that child. So turning toward the part of you that feels afraid and then embracing this part of you as a part of you, like a loyal soldier who's just trying to serve you and protect you in some way, but with information that's not the whole story, right? Right. Okay. Maybe when I was younger, by getting quiet, it was my strategy to keep me safe. But now I'm older and I know so much more about the world. And when I'm able to disidentify from the part of me that feels afraid and step into the part of me, that self that knows what I'm worth, and that the world needs me to be powerful in that way, and I can really feel confident to be in service to something larger than myself and trust that. When I can hold that truth within me, I can turn to this part of me that's afraid and say, I got you. We can do this. And so when that part comes up and you feel afraid and you turn towards and embrace that part, I want you to also turn towards the part that knows the deeper truth. And that's the part that's going to pull you forward into the world. So you can step into making that video, or step into saying yes to that job, or no, that sacred no, that really is an honoring of yourself when that needs to happen, or whatever it is, to push outside your comfort zone and say, let me give it a shot, because if I don't give it a try, how will I know what I've got inside of me? That party is going to be like, no, don't do that. This other party is like, the only way I can learn is to make a mistake and try and do it again and again until I get it. Like we have these deeper truths inside of us. Every single one of us has that wisdom inside of us. We're just not always aware of it. Sometimes it's like the part of us that knows the deeper truth can get hijacked by the part of us that feels afraid. So when we can disidentify and come back to the heart of who we are, the truth of who we are, and recognize that we're more than our fear, now we can take the step with our fear. So we're not trying to get rid of our fear, right? We're trying to hold our fear and do the thing we know we need to do. It's okay if it's scary. It doesn't have to stop you. Okay. This is the way that we deepen into the world. It's the way that we really understand and learn who we are. We have to take those chances. We have to take those risks. We have to give ourselves the opportunity to make mistakes, to look silly, to get on camera and say the wrong things or pronounce a word wrong. Like, who knows, right? We just want to be real and be us. And I'll tell you what, those of you that are out there that are looking to not just share yourself with the world, but perhaps even build a business, build a coaching business, a speaking business, or any kind of business where you're putting yourself out there in some way, authenticity is the key. So trust in that as well. So whatever that might be coming up for you, any kind of fear in your life, no matter what it is, allowing yourself to show up fully and wholly and that big, beautiful, sacred you is everything. And you can do that with your fear. So befriend your fear, befriend this part of you. And in my life, it has made all the difference. Those of you that have known me for a long time have seen some of the things that I've, gratefully had the courage and confidence to step into in service to our world. I used to be a really hardcore activist and build all kinds of different projects, documentary films. I would speak at different events and festivals and conferences and, documentary, film festivals, all kinds of things. I created festivals with, 5,000 plus people that have been beautiful and powerful and in a way of service. I've spoken on stage to tens of thousands of people. I've emceed stages with tens of thousands of people. I've done 300 plus person retreats. Some of you have been on them. Some of you have been to my festivals. Some of you have been to my shows. I had a TV show for 3 years. I had a band for over a decade, 2 different projects. And it wasn't that I felt like I'm, so good. I'm like the best singer or the best performer. No, I was like, I have a lot to grow and a lot to learn, but man, I got a message and I'm going to just put myself out there the best way I can with my whole heart, and so I've just done it anyway, even when I felt afraid, even when part of me was trying to pull back. So I want that for you too, because if you can show up with your whole heart and, hand in hand with your fear and be like, here we are, me and my fear, and we're going to do this thing, whatever that thing is, you are going to see such a transformation in your life. And the cool thing is there's this kind of fear, like confidence, competence loop that starts to happen. So when you take a step in, leaning into the party that, wants you to do this thing, and you take a little step towards that with your fear, and you start to feel the feedback, it begins to move you deeper into that thing. You're like, oh, wow, that kind of worked. I guess I can do this. So then you take a larger step towards that thing that's pulling you into the world, and you start to feel more competent and confident about it. And then you take another step in. So those baby steps, one step at a time with your fear, so that you can feel what it is to make a powerful choice in your life and how that feels inside of you. And when you receive that, it moves you deeper into yourself. Isn't that beautiful? So by taking a baby step towards a thing that you know you need to do, even though you feel afraid, it's going to feed you and pull you deeper in with more confidence to continue doing the thing you need to do. The trick is to get started. All right. So pay attention to your fear. Turn towards your fear and recognize it as only a part of you, not the whole story. Work with that part of you to understand what it's protecting, what it needs, how it's serving you, how it's not serving you, and at the same time, connect to that larger part of you, that part that's pulling you into the world in a bigger way, the thing that you know you need to do. And all it takes is that first step. And then you begin to build the confidence and recognize your competency and recognize the strength you have inside of you. And then you continue to step deeper and deeper and deeper into the world. And that's what I want to share with you today, and how beautiful it is to just get started and get started now, because this is bigger than you, my friends. It's bigger than you. It's not just about you having these gifts to share inside of you. It's about the world needing the gifts you have to share inside of you, right? So not only do you live the fullness of your life and really activate this like soulful power inside of you to be who you know you need to be in your life, the world receives you, because the gifts you have inside of you are not just for you. They're for all of us, and we need you. All right. So my prayer is that this feels super inspiring today, and you take a moment right now to think about that thing that you feel afraid of and the part of you that knows you need to do it. And you do this inner work with love and self-compassion, and with the knowing that you taking that step in is going to strengthen who you are in the world. All right. All right. Take it to heart, and I'll be seeing you soon. Okay. Have a beautiful day. Step into your strength and confidence to be all of who you're meant to be.